Hello everyone, this is Jeff Williams, CEO of BizStarters and Chief Coach for the Virtual Incubator Coaching Network. Over the next 35 minutes or so, I'll be your guide to the wonderful opportunity that you possess to become your own boss at this point in your life. Before we proceed, let me just invite you to sit back and relax. We're recording the presentation, both the audio and the slides, and we'll give you a link later in about a day that'll allow you to review it again at your leisure. I'm excited to be with you today and to share with you some surprising and fascinating facts about becoming an entrepreneur. For the past 25 years, I have been guiding individuals just like you to start fun and rewarding new lives as independent business owners. I've worked with all kinds of people with all kinds of skills and experience, but all who share a common desire to work in a certain way. First of all, they want to do work they enjoy every day. Secondly, they want to have schedule flexibility. And third, they want to have a nice supplement to their income. Now let's take a look at what you'll learn this evening. First of all, I'm going to explain why we want to keep working and 3 common ways to do it. I'll discuss the pros and cons of each. Next, I want to present 7 reasons why we think running a business is the way to work today. I think you'll find these very exciting. Thirdly, I want to discuss a new phenomena in America, which we're calling the boomer business bonanza. And then we're going to share what I call our secret sauce, which is our 8-step process for helping you turn a good idea into a great business. This has been used with more than 4,000 of our clients over the last 25 years. And then lastly, we're going to show you step by step how we will help you to get into business quickly and professionally. So why should you seriously be considering becoming your own boss at this point in your life? Well, according to a survey done by Merrill Lynch and MetLife recently, 75% of people over 50 want to continue working well into their 60s and some beyond. This is for a number of reasons that we'll discuss in just a minute. And each day, 10,000 Americans turn age 65. And at this point in their life, it's not uncommon to be looking for a new path, a new adventure, something new and exciting to do. We've discovered in working with clients over 25 years that there's 3 very strong motivations on why they come to us. First of all, they want to continue being in the action, even if they're not in the corporate world. They want to continue to be useful and contribute in a positive way. Secondly, many of them want to do work that they really enjoy. And unfortunately, for some, this is the first time ever, or maybe in many years, they've been able to do work they enjoy. The reality is that we sometimes have to take corporate jobs just for the income. But now's your opportunity to create your ideal form of work by creating your own business. And thirdly, we all can use an injection in our income. There are basically 3 ways that you can continue to work. Let me explore each of the 3 with you and explain the pros and cons. The first option is to continue working in a corporate job. This is what the majority of Americans do, particularly those over 50. But there are a couple of problems associated with this today. The first problem is that if you have a corporate job, your corporate employers may not want you to continue to have it much longer. Since 2008, more than 3 million people over 55 have lost their jobs. And in fact, unemployment rate among people over 55 is 40% higher than it was in the 1982 recession, which was considered a difficult recession. Very critically important is that according to employment experts, 7.9 million jobs are gone, many forever. And what this means is that you could be the most skilled, experienced person in one of these jobs, and it doesn't matter. You're never going back to that job. The second problem is that if you don't have a corporate job and you're trying to get one, it can be quite difficult. Now, why is this? Well, there's a number of reasons, but one of the reason that we focus on the most is age. And why is this? Because age matters a lot to corporate employers. Today, the typical hiring manager is under age 40, and when he considers hiring someone over 50, he sees a series of negatives. First of all, he sees you costing that group health insurance plan more. He sees you producing less work because of less stamina. He sees you not knowing how to use the latest technology, and he believes that you'll resist new ideas. Now, you and I know that in many of our individual cases, some or none of these are true. but it's the perception among these younger hiring managers that it's true. And quite often in the world of business, perception is more powerful than reality. Single women face additional challenges, and there's quite a few of them. According to a survey released 2 years ago, 51% of women over 50 say they live without a spouse. Now, this could be because of divorce, it could be because of the death of a spouse, or perhaps they never married. But regardless, in addition to the age barrier, they now have a financial challenge of having to be the only source of income. Okay, let's look at option 2. This would be to find work outside the corporate world. There's a real problem with this, and that is that with 7.5% unemployment, employment experts tell us today that there's about 3 people searching for each job opening. Now, what does this mean to you? First of all, it often means that it's very hard to find more than 20 hours per week of steady work. Number 2, quite often the wages in these jobs top out at less than $15, which is pretty hard to run a family budget on. Thirdly, there's usually no health benefits because these jobs are purposely part-time. Now, this may not matter to you if you have health insurance through a spouse or some kind of retiree health insurance. But if you're one of the 40% of people who don't have health insurance, this can be a real problem. And lastly, sometimes jobs that are found in the non-traditional corporate world are very physically demanding. For example, last Saturday I was at my local Lowe's, and while wandering down one of the aisles looking for help, I noticed a guy about my age, early 60s, hauling a big load of lumber around. And my first thought was, I don't think he really wants to be doing that at his point in life. Now let's look at option number 3. And I have to admit before I tell you about this that I have a bias, because not only have I been an entrepreneur for 25 years, but this is the way I make a living. Option number 3 is to start an entrepreneurial company or venture. I'd like to share with you 7 reasons why we think running a business is the way to work today. The first is that when you run your own business, your age does not matter. Whether you sell to corporations or consumers, they don't care how old you are. All they care is that you keep the promise you made. This may surprise you, but once again, according to employment experts, many new businesses last longer than new jobs. The average new hire in a corporate job only lasts 18 months in that job today, whereas 55% of all new businesses last at least 2 years, and many of them more than 5. And this is really exciting, point number 3 here, and that is that if you're over 50 in particular, you have a lot of people you can sell to. First of all, you have your 76 million fellow boomers, and they'll often see you as a brother or sister and be very willing to listen to your selling story. In addition, you also have 42 million Americans over age 70, and they will often see you as a son or daughter figure and be equally interested in talking to you. This gives you, in total, over 120 million potential customers without even going that far from your age range. I think this is pretty exciting. Next, you can work where you wish. Thanks to the web and smartphones, it's possible to work more than one place in a given year and still run your company. For example, if I wanted to, I could work part of the year in Chicago, where I'm based, and part of the year in Florida. Or I could keep in touch with my operations staff from a beach in the Caribbean. Next point is very important to me because I always felt that there was severe limitations on how much money I could make in the corporate world no matter how good I did. You determine your financial progress when you're your own boss. For example, every January I sit down and analyze how much personal income I want for the new year. I then do a little mini marketing plan to figure out how I'm going to get it. Do I need to introduce a new product? Do I need to get some new customers? Do I need to sell more to my existing customers? And by the end of January each year, I have my little plan in place, and I spend the next 11 months trying to make it happen. Now, I'm the first to tell you that in the 25 years I've been self-employed, I haven't always made my goal, but I've made it much more often than I have not. And this is contrasted with the average corporate manager today who only has a 3% increase in their income. When you run your own business, you can work for as long as you wish and as long as your health permits you. And in fact, the IRS gives you the option over age 50 to put away up to 40% of your income into deferred compensation, which means that even though you're not in the corporate world anymore, putting away money tax deferred does not have to stop. As long as you are running a ongoing business, you can continue to put money aside in these deferred compensation vehicles, as I said, into your 70s even if you want to. If you were to work, for example, 15 years as your own boss after you leave the corporate world, you could end up doubling your retirement assets by the time you're in your early 70s. And the last point that I want to share with you is, I think, one of the most exciting ones, and that's never been cheaper to start and run a company. Let me share with you a chart that illustrates typical monthly business expenses for a small business today. Now, I'm not going to go through each line item, but you'll notice the total is less than $600, and this includes health insurance premiums. Now, I realize that in many areas of the United States, it's going to cost you more than $300 for health insurance, but the point is we're well under $1,000 a month here. Now, I do have to say one thing, and that is that this is based on being a home-based business, but 98% of our clients start at home. So this is a very realistic set of figures for them. Now let me tell you about a very exciting phenomenon in America. You and I both know that we boomers have had a very profound effect on society since we were children in many, many different ways. And today, one of the really profound ways we're affecting society is through what I call the boomer business bonanza. For 10 of the last 11 years, people 55 to 65 have been the fastest growing group of new business owners. The Small Business Administration estimates that more than 600,000 businesses are being started every year by someone over age 55. And in fact, last month, Inc. magazine said that people over 55 are twice as likely to launch a high-growth startup as people 20 to 34. This is very surprising to a lot of people. If you only read business magazines and newspapers, you'd think it's only young people that really have fast-track companies. But in reality, statistically, those of us over 55 are propelling the business startup phenomena in America. Now, why is this happening? Why is the boomer business bonanza occurring? It's because more and more people have discovered a new way to do work. Now, before I explain the exciting new way to do work, which is how we prepare our clients through Virtual Incubator, let me explain the old way of doing small business, because some of you may be thinking of this when you're thinking about starting a company. First of all, in the old world of small business, many businesses were retail, which required expensive rent and other space-related costs, thereby raising your risk immediately. Secondly, many had traditional employees, which were also very costly. Thirdly, in the old style of business, many business owners had travel expenses in order to do business deals. As a matter of fact, I can remember in 1995, before the Internet really started to take hold, going to Kansas City for a 4-hour meeting to work on a partnership deal, and it cost me $1,200 to do the deal. And lastly, businesses used to be promoted very extensively with newspaper and magazine ads and through direct mail, both of which are very expensive. For example, today here in Chicago, where I'm based, a 4-inch by 5-inch ad run one time in the Chicago Tribune is more than $1,500. Now let's explore the exciting new world of small business. In this world, you work from home, and therefore you have no business rent. This immediately lowers your risk. Number two, many of us have no employees. We instead replace it with online services and independent contractors. I, for example, grow my companies by having over a dozen support people who are all independent business owners themselves, all very successful professionals ranging from a graphic design to QuickBooks help, and I use these people as I need them and pay them as I need them. Thirdly, business deals are very easily done today at a distance via the web, email, and Skype. In fact, I put a partnership in place 2 years ago in the United Kingdom solely through the use of email and Skype. And fourth, and very important, is that social media and email marketing are very powerful promotional tools today, and they're almost free to use. This is such a critical part of the new way to do small business that I want to talk about it for another minute. Today, you can create a very large corporate presence easily and quickly. You start off, first of all, by having a very compelling website. where you tell people about your product and services, explain who you are, talk about your background, maybe have some testimonials, possibly put up a instructional video on your site. Plus, the website allows people to communicate with you who come and visit. Now, when you put up a website today, you have to be very professional because people who are visiting your website are comparing you against the big boys like Amazon and Dell Computer. Next, you can supplement your website by using social media such as LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Tumblr. Each one of these services has a free version that costs you absolutely nothing, and you can start doing really powerful networking at no additional cost. For example, in LinkedIn, you can create your own group for no cost and invite people to join. 2 years ago, I started a group on LinkedIn called Boomer Biz Zone, and as I meet people face-to-face at social meetings, at speaking events, I invite them to join the group, and each person who joins the group has another network, maybe of 100 people. So for each person I connect with in the group, I'm actually getting access to maybe 100 additional people. Because of this leveraging, where one person knows another person knows another person, it is very possible using social media to reach millions of people instead of hundreds or thousands, which you would through running ads or direct mail. Now, the last thing I want to say about this is probably the most powerful, and that is that social media is not just an inexpensive way to market. It's a very powerful way to make a sales presentation. And in fact, research experts estimate that revenue generated by companies using social media will grow by more than $6.3 billion over the next 5 years. So if I had to say anything else about the new way to do small business to convince you, this should be the one thing that I would tell you. Now let me explain a reality here that a lot of people don't really know, and that is that we don't have just one economy in America. We really have several economies. And I want to explain the difference here because this is very important to being a successful small business owner. The economy that most of us read about is the large consumer purchase economy. This is big screen TVs, this is houses, this is cars. And for the last 5 years or so, the sales in these areas have been down substantially, which you'll see denoted by the arrow graphic heading downward. It's only been the last 6 months or so that house and car sales have started to pick up. So yes, this part of the economy has been very depressed. But fortunately, there's a second sub-economy. And this is what I call the service sales economy. And you'll notice that my arrow graphic is heading upward very dramatically here. Why is that? Because this part of the economy is growing by double digits. Now, why is it? Well, there are a number of reasons, but there are two really powerful mega reasons that we have identified. The first is what we call time poverty. This is the lack of personal time among people, particularly where both the husband and wife work in corporate jobs, to have enough time to do things in their personal life, around their home, and even taking care of their children after school. So how do they get this work done? By hiring small business owners like you and me. The second big, powerful trend here is corporate outsourcing. The reality is that when they downsize an employee, the employee is gone from the payroll, but not necessarily the job responsibilities. Many of these jobs still need to be done. And how are they getting them done? Well, in some cases, they're making the remaining employees do a lot more work, but they're also outsourcing, which means they're buying from small vendors like you and me. Now, at this point in my presentation, you may be thinking, I came here because I had a really good idea, and I wanted to see what Jeff had to say about this fantastic new world of being self-employed, but how do I turn my good idea into a really great business? Well, I'd like to share with you at this point what we call our secret sauce. This is our proven 8-step process for turning any good idea into a great business. And I'd like to share each of the 8 steps with you here very quickly. The first step is you must connect to the marketplace. And this usually involves doing a little mini marketing plan. We give you an outline that you can use on your computer to do this. But there are 4 key things you need to talk about in this little mini plan. The first is you need to describe your business as precisely as possible. And we find that the most effective way to do this is either by describing a problem you will solve or a need you will meet. Secondly, you then need to talk about who will buy your solution, who has the problem or the need. Thirdly, you need to talk about why they'll buy from you. And this leads into what we call the benefits analysis, which explains to the person, you have this problem, we have a solution, here's how you'll benefit if you let us give you the solution. And then the fourth critical step in connecting to the marketplace is you need to figure out how you're better and different from your competitors. The next of our 8 steps is you need to stop them in their tracks. And this means that you have to have a really eye-catching identity for your business. And this is where we recommend that you use outside professionals. In fact, we provide these people to you in the Virtual Incubator program. This is everything from logo design to business cards to flyers to your website. They all need to have a commonality. They need to be well thought out. You need to have a well thought out name for your business. This all comes together to create a really powerful identity for your business. Next, we have to get into the selling process. This is critical to growing your company. You need to find customers. You need to pitch them. You need to sell them. You need to repeat this over and over again. Fourth, you need to spread a wide web. And in this situation, the web we're talking about is not a spider web, it's the World Wide Web. We talked previously about the importance of having a website. This is critical. Websites today are what business cards used to be 15 or 20 years ago. Everybody expects you to have one, and they expect it to look really professional. You need to get your customers talking about you. And this you do through a good customer service strategy. The first key aspect of good customer service is to make sure your customers are happy. And once they're happy, you ask them to do what I call the 2 R's. You ask them to recommend you to other people, and you ask them to refer you to their friends and neighbors. Now let's move away from the marketing topics into a legal area for a minute. And one of the key steps of the 8 steps is you need to protect yourself legally. And for most of our clients over 50, this means either setting up a corporation or a limited liability company. You also need to find a good local small business attorney, which we will help you to do. And thirdly, you need to have the proper legal documents to support your company, whether this be a consulting contract or a lease with a landlord. You need to do it professionally to protect yourself. You also need to protect your money. In order to do that, you need a really well thought out financial system, starting with good accounting practices such as QuickBooks, doing financial projections regularly, pricing your products profitably, and understanding your tax and insurance requirements and making sure that you take care of them properly. And the last step, number 8, is really critical as you grow, and that is you must have a plan to maintain your quality as you grow. It's not that difficult to have high quality if you're only selling 1 customer a month. But as you grow the company, it requires a plan in order to keep the same level of quality when you're selling 100 units a month. This is what is known as the operations plan and is really critically important. Now, if you're like me and you just looked at these 8 steps, you're probably thinking, how can I get all of this done? Well, I'm very happy to tell you that we have a process to do this. But before I explain that to you, let me just share a quotation that I saw recently. This is from Cheryl Connor, a very popular small business columnist for Forbes.com. And this is what Cheryl has to say. Entrepreneurs need to rely on each other and on an increasingly strong web of mentors and resources to help them succeed. Now, I'm going to bring up the next slide, and I'm not going to say anything about it immediately because it's pretty self-evident. We feel we are your mentor and resource for being successful in your business. So let me explain to you here how Virtual Incubator Coaching Program does this for you. First of all, we offer 25 years of startup experience. And from this experience, we've learned a great deal of insider tips, money-saving tasks, and we made a lot of connections. Basically, everything you need to know and everything you need to do to succeed in your new business, we've already done many, many times, and we're prepared to share it with you. Secondly, we give you award-winning business planning tools. Now, why do I say award-winning? It's not my opinion. Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine has selected Virtual Incubator and our parent company, BizStarters, as the best entrepreneurial guide for people over 50. Next, Virtual Incubator gives you business startup experts to provide one-on-one coaching so you get your business up and running quickly and professionally. I'm speaking of our network of Virtual Incubator coaches here. We have a network across the United States of coaches who provide you weekly one-on-one telecoaching in addition to our business planning tools and our outside service provider staff to help you grow and build and grow your company. In many, many cases, we're helping people launch in 12 to 16 weeks from the time they start with us. And lastly, our team of service pros helps you to complete a complete marketing system from your logo to a compelling website. I talked about them a little bit earlier. These are the same people we use to build our companies, and we make them available to you. We've negotiated special low-cost pricing with these people to make it as cost-effective for you as possible. Now, I'm just about done with my presentation. I'm going to wrap up here in just a minute, and I'm going to open up the phone line to take your questions, and I'll stay on as long as necessary to answer your questions. But before I do that, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. And in order to thank you, I want to provide you with two bonuses. The first bonus is our popular ebook, Earn Big from What You Already Know. This is a 67-page digital download that shows you how to use your interest, experience, and possibly your hobby to find one or more great business ideas and then to evaluate their financial potential. Our second bonus is I'd love to talk to you about your business idea. And so we're very pleased to offer all our participants in our webinars a free 30-minute business idea review with one of our Virtual Incubator coaches. In this case, it would be with me. Now, in order to access your two bonuses, you just need to go to our webpage, which is www.bizstarters.com/bonuses.html. And let me spell this out for you. It's www.bizstarters.com/bonuses.html. So I encourage you to take advantage of these two bonuses as quickly as you can. The same page where you can access the ebook has a reservation form to request your free 30-minute business review. I'd love to hear from you and set up a conversation in the very near future to see how Virtual Incubator can help you move forward with your entrepreneurial plans. Thank you very much for joining me in my webinar, Start Your Business Now. And let me open the phone line to take questions.